Hi everyone, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the Norisring for race 8 in the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. And we're here on this phenomenal street circuit of 2.3 kilometers, which features 8 turns, 5 left-handers, 3 right-handers. But boy, is it tight. And it's great fun. And there are big number of fans here to enjoy the race action from the Porsche Carrera Cup. We had a great race yesterday. And we're looking for another great race today. It's a slightly longer race for the Carrera Cup. Very interesting. And first race is a little bit shorter than the second race. Cars are all lined up on the grid. And as you can see, the clock at the top of the screen indicating that just under 9 minutes before the lights will go green and the race will get underway. So let's recap on the Saturday's race. Slightly shorter, as I said, and at the start, as the lights went green, Dennis Olsen not with a brilliant start. Nick Yellerly was able to take great advantage, and he found himself, before many meters were done in race 1, Nick Yellerly had the inside line and was going to take the lead, despite just a little bit of a touch from Christopher Zoechling going into that turn number 1. And thankfully, as we go on board with Michael Ammermuller, now, he was penalised for making a jump start, as you can see, getting away before the lights went green. Christopher Zoechling also with a jump start. Both of them got a 10-second time penalty. Olsen was desperate to try and find a way past Nick Yellerly, and they had, as they approached the Grundig hairpin, just a little bit of a touch between the two of them. However, no advantage was gained in the end by Dennis Olsen. And after some 27 laps, then the British star would take the victory in the first race at the Norisring. His first victory with a rooftop car. Second place was enough for Dennis Olsen to become the half-time champion. And third on the podium was Christian Engelhardt. So that was race 1. And all our attention now is focused on the 35-minute race 2 as Nick Yellerly celebrates his victory in race 1. Very interesting grid lineup because we have Dennis Olsen P1, Nick Yellerly P2. Once again. Then it's Thomas Preining, Christopher Zoechling, Gabriele Piana. Then it's Michael Ammermuller and Christian Engelhardt. And alongside me is Alex Torrell. Look at Ammermuller and Engelhardt, two very experienced Porsche racers. They're further down in the qualifying order than I would expect them to be. Alex, please explain.
Yeah, I mean, here in the Norisring, it's really hard to qualify. You need to have many things good together. First, you need to have a good lap where you hit your marks, you hit your braking points, you turn in the right point and so on. And then you have also something which is playing a lot of role here is the traffic. You need to be really good clear of traffic because it's such a small racetrack. 2.3 kilometers, when you have 20 cars, you have a car every 20 meters. So this is really hard to get a position, and probably they struggled with it in the second lap. So they managed to get one, which was for the race of yesterday, but the other fast lap was not there.
Well, we're looking at the man that did get it together, Dennis Olsen, who of course is a Porsche Junior, which means he's in the supported by Porsche and runs with the Conrad Motorsport team. And Nick Yellerly then, who took the win yesterday, goes from P2 once again with the Project 1 team. So Nick Yellerly, can he make it 2 out of 2 this weekend? This race then, as I mentioned, slightly longer duration. Thomas Preining also with the Conrad Motorsport car, the same colours as Dennis Olsen. Thomas Preining goes from P3 on the grid. There is Thomas. And from P4, it is Christopher Zoechling that we will see in just a moment. Focus on Thomas Preining there, going from P3. Finished down the order, P8 yesterday. Christopher Zoechling then. Picked up a penalty yesterday, a time penalty. He's going from P4 on the grid. Ended up taking P10 yesterday, did Christopher Zoechling. He's perhaps the tallest driver in the Porsche Carrera Cup. He's very nearly 8 foot tall, isn't he? Christopher Soechling's big bloke.
It's pretty tall, but the tallest driver in Carrera Cup, I know it's your nation mate, I would say, Ben Barker.
Ben, yes.
Ben, it's I would say the tallest ever racing driver I've ever met, almost 2 meter, great guy, great driver.
Yes, Ben Barker, who was in the Carrera Cup. There's Gabriele Piana, a driver that you know well, and he's going from P5 on the grid. And what can Gabriele do from there?
I mean, it's his first top 5 start of the season. We'll see how he managed to stay in the pressure, to stay in the rhythm of the top guys.
And he's going to have Michael Hammermuller and Christian Engelhardt, 2 of the most experienced Porsche Carrera Cup drivers there are, who are P6 and P7, breathing on him.
Yeah,
that's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot of pressure. There are 2 really talented guys, 2 guys with a lot of experience, which is even more important, behind him. So he needs to really be, I would not say care, but he will need to really fight with them to hold them, because they really want to go to the front. They will really push to go for podium positions.
Answer me a question, please, as a racing driver. Michael Hammermuller, very, very experienced, hugely successful. Single-seaters, of course, back in the early stages of his
GP2
career.
even.
Yeah. How does he make a mistake and do a jump start?
I mean, it can happen. How many starts you do as a racing driver? You do many, and one of them can goes wrong. Can be just slip maybe a little bit the clutch, or I mean, it's really hard when you are there. It looks really easy from the outside,
of course,
but it's really hard when you are there. All the revolutions, and you try to slip a little bit, and maybe just slip a bit too much, and then the car moves, and there you are too late to recover the, let's say, stop the car. And once you move a little bit, doesn't matter if it's even before or after the lights.
It's a penalty.
Sorry, if it's before. If it's after the lights, you're fine.
It's absolutely quite acceptable.
But if you are before the lights and you move the car, and even you manage to stop before the lights go off,
it's still, you've moved, haven't you?
You've moved.
And in fairness, it's not line of sight that makes that decision. There are sensors, aren't there? There's data that we were looking just moments ago at the P7 place car of Christian Engelhardt. Like Hammermuller, very, very experienced in these cars. And then we see Henrik Skog there, who is going from P8 on the grid. And for Project One Motorsport, going from P9, it will be Larry ten Voorde. Of course, his first time for Larry ten Voorde here at the Norisring. Just with the door flapping there to try and get some air into the car. It's not particularly warm today, and it's still quite overcast. I would have said maybe 45 minutes ago that there was potentially the threat of rain, because there's some very dark clouds overhead. I think that threat has gone away now. So Larry ten Voorde then going from P9 on the grid, and of course he will have one of his teammates behind him, because going from P10 it is David Kolkman, also driving for the Project One Motorsport team. And Larry then continuing to flap the door there and just get some air into the car. So sure enough, there is the number 16 car of David Goldman going from P10 on the grid. And the all-white car there of David Kolkman. Thumbs up from him, and points forward, which is the only way to go from P10 on the grid, isn't it?
It's only one way to the front. Let's see how they manage to get.
How much difference does it make in the Carrera Cup? From the first race is almost like a sprint race, and I mean, this is nothing like an endurance race either, because it's only 35 minutes long, but it is sufficiently longer where surely, Alex, you have to kind of look after the car a little bit more, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. This car, it's the weight that's pretty, I mean, I wouldn't say high, but it's quite heavy, so you need to take care of the tires a little bit to don't overdrive them, because you will need them at the end of the race.
There is Hans-Bernd Kamps, then the boss of the Project One team, who is here to see how his drivers can do. And of course, he'll be delighted with the fact that Nick Yellerly took his first win in the Carrera Cup just yesterday. Can he repeat that? It's every possibility. He certainly got a better start, didn't he, than Dennis Olsen?
Yeah, he had a little bit better traction out of the box. So we'll see how they manage today. But I think Dennis Olsen
he'll be wise to it now, won't he?
Wise to it, and he knows this, so he will try to make a better start. But still, anything can happen. Like we saw yesterday before, Michael Hammermuller, a really experienced driver in Carrera Cup, racing for many years. I think this is his 6th season on a Carrera Cup car,
Yes.
and he made a jump start.
Yeah.
And it's Christopher Socklin the same. It's a really experienced guy, racing in the Middle East, racing everywhere in Carrera Cup, also racing GT3, and he had a jump start. So you see how hard it is.
I think, in fairness, the Zotling jump start was probably more obvious than the Ammermuller one, wasn't it? Because we saw him dive to the middle of the pack. And here is the grid in full then for race 8. Olsen Jellerli, front row. Then it's Preining and Zotling. Then it's Gabriella Piana and Mikael Ammermuller before Christian Engelhardt and Henrik Skoog. Then we find Larry ten Voorde and David Goldman completing the first 5 rows before we see Ryan Cullen, Marius Naken, Carlos Rivas and Wolfgang Triller, Luca Rettenbacher, Wolf Natan, Jean Schmidt-Stade, Stefan Raykopf, Philip Sager, Kim Andre Hauschild. Rounding out the grid then, of course, there are 2 categories in the Carrera Cup Deutschland. As we look at Franz Conrad from Conrad Motorsport, there's the A category for the pro drivers and then the B category for what we would call gentleman drivers, those that are racing more for fun than career reasons.
Yeah, exactly. We have the guys in the front and top front, and we have the B class where you have amateur drivers,
Yes.
drivers or people which is businessmen, or they have their own business or their own duties during the week.
But some of them almost become A- drivers because they're very quick, aren't they, for amateur drivers?
Yeah, of course. There you see the level of Carrera Cup. It's really high. It's one of the highest level you could find in the full Europe.
Yes.
And they are really they are sometimes really on the times of the top guys. So there you see how fast they are. We had Rolf Inaisen in the previous year.
Yes.
He's really fast. He's now racing and even winning race on GT Masters.
Yes. Dennis Olsen then into his grid box. Of course, he has to wait for the rest of the cars to get into their grid boxes before we get the green flag from the marshal at the rear, which will allow the start sequence to be got underway. And there is Nick Jellerli, well in his box into P2. Now, it was from that position yesterday as we look at the Project 1 team, all lined up in the pit lane there with Hans Bernd Kamps conveniently hidden by one of his engineers in front of him. We await the green flag from the marshal at the rear as the final car of Commander Hauschild gets into the grid box. There comes the green flag. We are ready to get underway. 35 minutes of hot rod race action to come from the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. When all the lights go out, we will be away and racing. The engine note rises, so too the excitement. Jellerli and Olsen get away. Olsen immediately diving across to try and get the inside line. And there's just a little bit of contact between himself and Nick Jellerli. Thomas Preining down the outside. Jellerli could be hung out to dry here and could end up P3, but it's difficult for Preining going around. Yes, Thomas Preining. We've got 2 Conrad cars, P1 and P2.
Really good start from Engelhardt, all around the outside. He's already now P4.
Well done for picking that up.
And Christopher Socklin on the inside line of Gabriele Piana. Also a good start from Larry ten Voorde, which also moves some position ahead. Ammermuller struggled a little bit on the start, dropping some positions.
So Olsen leading. Whoa, big lock up
from Gabriele Piana, locking up the wheels. It's exactly what you said. He struggled to keep the position up there in the front with the pressure of Socklin and Larry ten Voorde.
So first lap completed. It's Olsen, Preining, Jellerli, Engelhardt. Great start from Christian Engelhardt. Then it's Zotling, Larry ten Voorde, Gabriella Piana and Mikael Ammermuller is down there in P8 with Henrik Skoog and David Kolkman completing the top 10 as they go through. So Olsen and Preining then. Conrad Motorsport domination at the front as we go 3 abreast. That's never going to work, is it? As one car gets clattered into the Armco there right at the back of the pack. Cars making their way through the Scholler S now as we pick up the race order. And all the cars still, pleasingly, despite the contact for one on that Armco, continuing around this circuit. And they're right at the back of the pack now, as you can see, following that contact now. Something about these Carrera Cup cars is, and you have to be very much aware of, is the fact that all the coolant is in the front of the car. Rear engine, of course, but the coolant is at the front of the car. So the front end of the car becomes very vulnerable to any contact, doesn't it?
Yeah, you definitely should avoid to contact the car in front with either the front right or the front left, because this is where the coolant you have. One side is the water coolant, the other side is the oil coolant.
Yes.
And if you clip one of those, you are definitely out of the race. And also what happening straight the water you lose from the coolant goes straight into the wheel, so you lose immediately grip as well.
And we've seen cars in the past, haven't we, actually lose grip on their own coolant.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it's slightly leaking, you lose the grip in the front because it goes straight on your front tires. So we see Wolf Natan leading the B class in front of Carlos Rivas at the moment. Rivas trying to put some pressure into the Dutch driver.
Wolf Natan is a great guy, isn't he? He's
really cool guy.
Yeah, always there or thereabouts in the B classification. Olsen leading, though, from Thomas Preining and Nick Yellerly. Yellerly is very, very close to Preining. And, of course, what Olsen is doing now is escaping up the road. He's building up that margin if he possibly can. And he's got that margin of comfort up to 9/10 now.
We see Luca Rettenberger passing Marius Nacken.
So Luca Rettenbacher, another one that drives the Conrad Motorsport colours, getting past the Marius Nacken car through the Cholores they go. Let's see a replay of the start then. And Yellerly was close once again. It was a very good start from both of them, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really good out of the box from Dennis Olsen. We see no one had a jump start, or doesn't look like no one had a jump start. Yes, have car number 8, which is Philip Saga, under investigation. He had a drive-through now for pushing another car. We see again the start really clean, little bit of loft up, like you would say.
Yes.
But it's quite normal. It's a slow corner. Everyone got really close together.
Christoph Huber there with Franz Conrad. Christoph Huber to the very right of the picture. He walks away not quite as happy as Franz Conrad.
There we see the contact we were talking about. Oh, it's damage on the front.
And at the Stefan Rakoff car.
So Michael Hammermüller passing now Gabriele Piana.
And David Coltman right behind Gabriele Piana now. So Michael Hammermüller has got that place moved. Larry ten Voorde is quite a way up the road in...
David Coltman putting some pressure onto Piana as well. Oh, small tap on the wall for Ryan Cullen.
So Ryan Cullen making contact with the concrete then, which really doesn't give at all here at the Norisring. The track limits delineated by either Armco or concrete wall, neither of which give very much. Michael Hammermüller, now he's been released from Gabriele Piana. He's certainly got pace, hasn't he? As David Coltman to the inside of Piana now. And that was a good overtake from David Coltman. He gets the job done, so he will now chase down Michael Hammermüller. But Hammermüller is already, having got past Gabriele Piana, is on his way now. So Michael Hammermüller up to P7, chasing down Larry ten Voorde, who is currently running P6. Ahead of him is Christopher Zoechling.
Ryan Cullen coming a little bit hot in. Nothing happened. Oh, some power oversteer on the exit. We'll see Philip Sagar making the drive-through penalty.
Now this was for contact, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Pushing another car, as you can see on the graphics. So Philip Saga will go right to the back of the pack now. So we once again pick up on Michael Hammermüller then in the number 7 car, 87 car, beg your pardon, who is running in P7. David Coltman with him in P8, then Gabriele Piana is relegated to P9, and occupying the 10th place is Henrik Skog at the moment. Dennis Olsen a second ahead of Thomas Preining. There are 6/10 between Thomas Preining and Nick Yellerly for P2 and 3, and then Christian Engelhardt, who's a full second behind Nick Yellerly, who is running in P4 ahead of Christopher Zoechling before we get to Larry ten Voorde.
Making fastest lap of the race for Christian Engelhardt as well.
See what, Ryan Cullen is always prepared to have a go around the outside of that turn 1, but it's very, very difficult to go around the outside and make an overtake, isn't it? Impossible?
Well, I will not say impossible, but it's really, really hard to get away with it. You need a lot of momentum, and it's not really the grip there.
Now this camera that's mounted on the concrete wall proves just how close you can get to the concrete wall here, and I think you said that previously it's almost a competition, isn't it, to see whose mirror can be knocked off first, and that's the closest you can get without doing any damage, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You have the mirrors are, let's say, the widest part of the car. The rear wing, it's a little bit also same wide, or almost the same wide like the mirrors, a little bit narrower. So yeah, like I said, if you clip the mirror, that means you are exactly on the limit. So you see Christian Engelhardt improving a little bit his rhythm at the moment, a little bit faster than Nick Yellerly. Not much, just 1/10.
Now, Larry ten Voorde
putting pressure into Zöchling.
He is putting some pressure under Zöchling. Now, you made the point that Christopher Zöchling, very experienced racer, has raced in the Middle East, of course, and raced here in the Carrera Cup. Super guy, really, really nice guy, it has to be said, but he is under pressure now from Larry ten Voorde. Christopher Zöchling driving, of course, for the MRS GT racing team in the red and white car, and that is Larry ten Voorde for Project One Motorsport then, who is chasing down that car of Christopher Zöchling. This is the battle that's going on for P5 in the race, isn't it? It's Zöchling is P5, Larry ten Voorde is P6 at the moment, and Amamul are desperately trying to haul in those 3 seconds that remain between Larry ten Voorde and himself.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we saw, it's now everything a little bit stabilized, and we have now another replay of Wolfgang Triller. He got the award. Yes. He got the award for the mirror.
I think you're right, Wolfgang Triller. Well, he got the mirror and various other parts of the bodywork down that side as well.
We see now the mirror.
Now, what's really interesting is you have made the point previously that if you kind of hit that wall square, so you're level with the wall, the damage is really, really limited.
Yeah.
It's if you go into the wall where you've got just a little bit of steering lock, you can cause real problems, can't you?
Exactly. If you hit the wall, the best thing if you hit it totally sideways.
Yes.
With both with both tires at the same time. So then you just have like a small little lateral impact.
Yes.
If you hit it like a little bit in the front or rear, then you have like a little bit more corner impact. And this might cause some problem or break something down in the car.
So we're watching Nick Yellerly then, who is P3. He was on the top step of the podium yesterday, having taken the win, and finds himself with the podium place at the moment, but still a long way to go in this race. But it is P3 rather than P1. P1 belonging to Dennis Olsen, who's increased his margin over Thomas Preining, and it's now 1.6 seconds. So Thomas Preining really is acting as a very, very good wingman for Dennis Olsen here, because he's completely protected, isn't he? You've got a Conrad driver P1, a Conrad driver P2. And before you see Nick Yellerly and Christian Engelhardt. And Christian Engelhardt just beginning to get a little bit closer to Nick Yellerly now.
Yeah, I think Thomas Preining is losing a little bit of rhythm, which is making that Nick Yellerly to approach him.
Yes.
And of course, this is causing as well Christian Engelhardt that it's approaching both of the drivers in the front. So we might see it in the next lap, some fight for the second step on the podium, second and third step position in the podium.
And of course, the more they fight, the more it enables Christopher Zöchling and Larry ten Voorde to get ever closer as well. So there is the P2 car to the very right of your picture now. Thomas Preining, then it's Nick Yellerly, then it's Christian Engelhardt. Here comes Christopher Zöchling and Larry ten Voorde then, really bouncing those Porsche Carrera Cup cars. Of course, this tarmac is quite a bumpy surface, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really, really bumpy. We see now, for example, at the exit of the corner, Larry ten Voorde jumping all the way on the rear of the car. It's really, really bumpy. Like we say, it's a city track, it's roads that are also driven by big lorries, by many heavyweight cars that also produce a little bit of undulation on the asphalt. It makes it really hard for the drivers.
Philip Sager out now. Looks like it's a retirement for Philip Sager in the number 8 car. Is he going to get out of the car? If he gets out of the car, yeah, that's a pretty sure thing, isn't it? That race is done and dusted for the Philip Sager car.
Not pretty tall as well.
So Olsen leading by 2 seconds over Thomas Preining, then it's Nick Yellerly. And then you've got this battle going on just behind Christian Engelhardt, who is P4. It's this battle between Christopher Zöchling and Larry ten Voorde. Now, Christopher Zöchling, with lots and lots of experience, as we've mentioned before, particularly with these cars. Larry ten Voorde is chasing him down, though. And Christian Engelhardt is getting ever closer to Nick Yellerly for P3 at the moment. So it's Yellerly that is P3 currently, but Engelhardt getting closer. And Larry ten Voorde right on the gearbox of the car of Christopher Zöchling that is currently running in P5. Oh,
that's not good. That's just locking into the. Sorry, I thought for a second it was something broke down, but it was.
I wondered whether that was engine smoke.
Yeah. But I think there was some lockout from Dennis Olsen in the entry of the last corner. You see Franz Gordon, Wolfgang Ulrich, and Andrea Hagenbach as well on the left side.
So here is Dennis Olsen then, that Porsche Junior that is after the positions yesterday, half-time champion in the Porsche Carrera Cup for 2017, with races still to come at Nürburgring, Sachsenring and Hockenheim. Now, you were saying, and I don't know whether it was the bump on this surface that we were talking about just moments ago, but you were saying there was one particular bump on this track where you have to aim for it almost. You have to get it exactly right. If not, it really unsettles the car, doesn't it?
Yeah, for example, in the corner we are watching now in the entry of S. Scheller, we see now a bump.
Yeah.
You have to try to brake after this bump to avoid the locking on the tires at the entry. And then you have also on the last corner, on the apex, you have a bump that you have to try to get it straight on the acceleration to not cause any oversteer.
You sounded very much like a Peter Sellers character called Inspector Clouseau when you said "bump." Well done, thanks for that. It's only those bits of information that you can give us as a racing driver, and we are grateful to have you alongside us. Dennis Olsen P1, Thomas Preining P2, Nick Yellerly P3, then it's Engelhardt, Zögling, Larry ten Voorde, and Mikael Ammermuller, and it's David Kolkman, Gabriella Piana, and Henrik Skoog. Rounding out the top 10 as we look at Jean Schmidt Starter there with Wolf Natan. And Wolf Natan, who has been a long-time competitor in the B category of the Porsche Carrera Cup, Netherlands-based driver, with Jorn Schmidt Starter ahead. The battle going on for P15 as we cross back to the Nick Yellerly car. So Yellerly has got past Preining.
Just missed that.
We didn't see that, did we?
We just missed that at some point.
So Yellerly has got past Thomas Preining. Didn't see that coming, to be honest, and we didn't see the pictures of that overtake. So now Yellerly is ahead of Thomas Preining. So he's gone from P3 to P2. He's got some 2.7 seconds to make up on Dennis Olsen, which will be a huge ask, I would suggest, but not beyond the realms of possibility. And, of course, Nick Yellerly will come into this race with his confidence sky high, having taken the win yesterday and taken the win very, very comprehensively, it has to be said. You know, it was really a really close battle between Olsen and Yellerly right to the very, very end of the race, wasn't it? But Yellerly did not yield to the pressure and has obviously got past Thomas Preining. And Thomas Preining will now fall prey potentially to Christian Engelhardt, who's still there in P4 and has perhaps not made the momentum that I would have expected from a driver with all the experience, not only of the car but also of this track, the likes of Christian Engelhardt. Yeah,
like you said, he managed to do yesterday a really good race. Might see now the replay.
It's a mistake.
Wide. Yeah, he probably locked in the inside of the last corner, ran wide and left the door open to Nick Yellerly, who could go through easily and out of issues. Like I was saying, he did a really brilliant job yesterday. He was making his car as wide as possible, denying the position to Dennis Olsen all the time. We'll see now, but I think it's a little bit too far away now, Dennis Olsen, for Nick Yellerly to chase him down and maybe have a battle for first position. But like you said, Norisring, it's really long.
Yeah.
We've seen many situations now during the weekend, so maybe another mistake from Dennis Olsen, a big lock situation from the wheels or something might make everything get closer again and turn the fight on.
As you say, it only takes one mistake, doesn't it? And we have seen Olsen lock up, haven't we? Well, let's see how it develops then. Christopher Zögling and Larry ten Voorde then. It's been this way for P5 and 6 for a number of laps now, with Larry ten Voorde just not able to find the extra bit he needs to try and really attack Christopher Zögling. Christopher Zögling, though, can drive extremely defensively, though he's not really being put under that pressure at the moment. Zögling, another very, very experienced racer. I have to say, now that Yellerly has managed to get past Thomas Preining, he is up the road a bit, so clearly Yellerly has got better pace than Thomas Preining. So we continue to watch the number 10 car of Larry ten Voorde then. So there is Thomas Preining, and you can see how Nick Yellerly, now he's been released from him, has got up the road a little bit in chasing down Dennis Olsen. Olsen will be in the privileged position, of course, by being in front and having that margin of around 2 seconds, just 2.4 at the moment, of potentially being able to manage that gap, because what Dennis Olsen doesn't want to do now is overdrive, is it? And make a mistake that allows Nick Yellerly to get ever closer.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he needs to manage his gap, but I think that it's already mature, let's say, the driver mature enough to manage this gap, to don't get nervous and don't feel the pressure of Nick Yellerly chasing him down. That's why I think it will be really hard to see a mistake from him, but you never know. The race, like we were saying, race is long, everything can happen, or maybe we have a safety car situation which puts everything all close together.
Yes.
So we cannot decide anything yet.
Yes, you're right. That would be a real leveler, wouldn't it? So there is Thomas Preining, who is now, of course, having to defend a little bit harder against Christian Engelhardt. You can see how Engelhardt, over the last 3 laps, has taken just a little bit out of Thomas Preining and gets ever closer to him. So Christian Engelhardt then driving that Carrera Cup car behind Thomas Preining, who is P3. Christian Engelhardt down there, P4. Regular visitor to the podium and a hugely successful GT driver is Christian Engelhardt. Dennis Olsen leading the race now by 2.3 seconds, so Nick Yellerly has taken a 10th out of the Dennis Olsen time. Larry ten Voorde then continuing to sit right behind Christopher Zoechling, but he's just not able to make a move, and Mikael Ammermuller is out. So down the pit lane comes Mikael Ammermuller. It's not a drive-through penalty, although it was car number 8 that had a drive-through penalty, Philip Saga, who then got, incidentally, another drive-through penalty for exceeding the pit lane speed limit during a drive-through penalty.
It must be some technical issue for Ammermuller. The car doesn't look scratch or...
So team straight in there to hear from Mikael Ammermuller, but he's getting out of the car. That's his race done and dusted.
Maybe some loss of power.
Christoph Huber there, trying to listen to, understand what exactly has happened. Now the gap between Dennis Olsen and Nick Yellerly is coming down just very, very slightly, and Larry ten Voorde is piling the pressure on Christopher Zoechling ahead of him. We've lost Saga, we've lost Mikael Ammermuller out of the race. And in replay here, well, that's Engelhardt pushing as hard as he can, and he makes contact with the wall. But that one will be limit the damage because, as you say, it was straight on, wasn't it?
You see how it hit the wall. I mean, it's really hard to say that the driver, but it can be a little bit influenced by the driver. You see you are too hot in the corner. You see you are approaching the wall. So you just open the steering wheel to let the car drift, let the car hit the wall with the 2 wheels, so you know you don't have any major damage. We see now in the back of our screen Larry ten Voorde pushing into Christopher Zoechling.
It's the closest they've been, Larry ten Voorde and Christopher Zoechling, as they head into turn number 1. We're seeing them on the exit here, while Christopher Zoechling remains in front of Larry ten Voorde. Oh, and there comes a lock-up from Thomas Preining. Christian Engelhardt has just slipped back a little bit following that contact with the wall. But Zoechling is the one that's really under pressure here. Larry ten Voorde trying to get up the inside here, but too much speed. The car gets sideways, and that's the classic switchback, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we were talking about before. You only can do the switchback in case the other driver does a mistake. Yeah. We see now the mistake, or Larry ten Voorde went too hard into the corner. He didn't manage to stop the car to get it rotate, and of course the rear of the car was coming, and that allowed Christopher Zoechling to get that switchback and get the position back.
So Olsen continuing to lead, but the margin is coming down very, very slightly. It's probably, and I think, Alex, you're absolutely right. I think the margin that he has is going to be too great for Nick Yellerly to get back on terms with Dennis Olsen, who seems to be quite comfortable, thank you very much, in P1.
Small lockup from Christopher Zoechling in the entry of the Scheller S. Nothing big, nothing dramatic. Go now towards the last corner of the racetrack. Hairpin, like I was saying before, the bump in the middle of the corner make it so difficult to get it really straight to be able to have the most out of the car, to use the traction out of the car. If not, you will have this unstabilization of the rear or the back, and you lose some grip in the corner. We have now also in the screen battle between Carlos Rivas and Halsschild. Carlos Rivas is the moment leading the B class, also with quite a comfortable margin of 1.2 seconds to Wolfgang Triller.
And then P3 in that B category is Stefan Rakoff, isn't it?
Yeah.
who is actually running. Interestingly, they're all together, aren't they? It's P13, 14, 15. So they're the number 6 car of Carlos Rivas. So we have 10 laps of the race remaining.
I have to say sorry that Carlos Rivas had some issues and he dropped to P18. It's now Wolfgang Triller leading the B class.
So Wolfgang Triller, Stefan Raykopf, and then it's car number 12, isn't it?
Jeffrey Schmidstade.
John Schmidstade.
And then we have
and there we can see
Carlos Rivas. He was leading the B class. We haven't seen what's happening.
There, leading the A class is Dennis Olsen, who is seeing that lead eroded a little bit. It's down to 2.1 now, but and there you can see now in the picture Nick Yellerly. For all his worth, he is really trying to close down this gap to Dennis Olsen. What a dream weekend it would be for Nick Yellerly to be able to take 2 out of 2 here at the Norisring. Dennis Olsen is going to do everything he possibly can to try and prevent that, but at the moment, Nick Yellerly is doing a very, very good job, and looking at the sector times, he is marginally quicker. It's down to 1.9 now. Let's look at the time that we've got left. He's going to have to, the pace has got to be better than that, hasn't it, to close that gap down, yeah, assuming there are no mistakes.
Yeah, definitely. We have 11 minutes to go and around 8 laps. We have talking, he has to be almost few more tenths faster to chase Dennis Olsen down. And once he's there, let's say he's on the back of Dennis Olsen, then you need to pass him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can. It's all very well being on the back, as indeed we've seen here for lap after lap after lap for Larry Ten Voorde. This is the battle that's going on for P5, and Christopher Zoetschling has just been able to defend very, very stoically from Larry Ten Voorde, and frustratingly, Ten Voorde has not been able to find a way through.
Well, Wolfgang Nathan trying, John Schmidstade.
He just took a look at the inside, didn't he?
Yeah, he tried to dive his nose, but not successful in the overtaking maneuver.
Wolfgang Triller very solidly out there leading the B class of drivers, running in P13. Then it's Stefan Raykopf and Jean Schmidstade, just denying Wolf Natan the opportunity of a B category podium at the moment. But still time to come in this race, that's for sure.
Here we have now Dennis Olsen is answering the attack time from Nick Yellerly, and he's now increasing the gap from 1.9 to 2.2 seconds. It's been 3 tenths faster than Nick Yellerly in the last lap. Might be interesting to see the fight between Prenin and Engelhard. See if Engelhard can manage to get a little bit closer and fight for the 3rd position on the podium.
Well, it's possible. There is our race leader, Dennis Olsen, who really from the start of the race has not, with the exception of a lock-up, not put a foot wrong. Here comes Larry Ten Voorde on Christopher Zoetschling. He's not as close this time around as he has been previously, though. Christopher Zoetschling is just able to place the car perfectly in that turn and prevent any opportunity for Larry Ten Voorde to have a go at him.
Yeah, we've seen this, like we were talking about, he's a really experienced driver. He knows really well the car, he knows where to place the car. He's been doing this for many, many years. And he's always playing on his end.
And Christian Engelhardt now lighting up the battle for P3, the final podium place with Thomas Preining. As we go places beyond that then. And you're right, Dennis Olsen has replied to Nick Yellerly, hasn't he?
Now increasing another
4 tenths.
4 tenths the gap. So as we said, if we don't have any mistake from Dennis Olsen.
Well, both both Christian Engelhardt and Larry Ten Voorde both pushing their respective opponents very, very hard, aren't they? Because Thomas Preining defending. And there is Larry Ten Voorde pushing that Christopher Zoetschling car.
You see now Dennis Olsen approaching these guys, lap cars. I hope they let pass Dennis Olsen without many issues. We've seen already, yeah, we see he's flashing now, saying, please stay away, get away. I'm leading the race. I have nothing to do with you. let me go through easily. Both of the guys are fighting, so let's see if it doesn't go into trouble. We've seen already this before. Two lap cars or a lap car causing troubles to the leading car.
So Engelhardt then on Thomas Preining.
See again, Dennis Olsen flashing, saying, please let me go through. They denied their position, no one not really respecting the blue flags. So now Dennis Olsen goes in front of House Shield. Now he needs to pass Rivas. We have only 3 laps to go.
Look at the face of Franz Conrad there.
Sasha Maassen as well on the right hand side. So flashing again. Dennis Olsen flashing, saying stay away, get away off my line please.
You can see there the waved blue flag, which is
starving me.
And there, in fairness, he does yield, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And allows Olsen to go through, but inevitably what that has done, it's slowed Dennis Olsen down a little, but he's now actually got those 2 backmarking cars as an even greater cushion, hasn't he? And I mean, we've run out of laps anyway, haven't we? So Dennis Olsen, providing there are no errors.
Oh, Engelhardt pushing hard now on Thomas Preining. We'll see when they get the lap cars, if they approach them, what was going to happen. Because always when you are fighting, you have lap cars in the front. They play a big role.
And
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Larry ten Voorde has got ahead of Christopher Zoetling.
Yeah, we missed that.
Again, something else we didn't see on the screen. Doubtless we'll get a replay of it. But Larry ten Voorde, after lap after lap after lap after lap of keeping the pressure on Christopher Zoetling. Here it comes. No, it doesn't. That's a completely different incident.
It's Cook losing the rear of the car at the braking.
And then bouncing over the curbs there.
That allows Piana to go back to P8.
So we're on to the final lap then for Dennis Olsen. This will be win 5 for Dennis Olsen in the Carrera Cup. He has the Wolf Natan backmarking car in the B category ahead of him. Wolf Natan is a real gentleman driver, and he'll certainly give Olsen room. If indeed Olsen gets onto the back of him before the checkered flag, which may well not be the case, because Dennis Olsen is on his way now towards the checkered flag and takes the win. That car is backmarking one. Here comes P2 for Nick Yellerly. P3 goes the way of Thomas Preining. An impressive drive from Preining under pressure from Christian Engelhardt. And then it's Larry ten Voorde ahead of Christopher Zoetling, and Franz Conrad gets a P1 and a P3. That's a really good news for a team, isn't it?
Yeah, the best situation possible. I mean, you can have it just a little bit better, which is P1 and P2, but it's a good job by Franz Conrad. One more race, leading the race, solid win for Dennis Olsen again, showing his performance, showing this.
Wolfgang Triller will take the honours in the Bs. And it should be John Schmidt Starter that takes... No, it's going to be Stefan Rakoff that takes P2 in the Bs. And then it's going to be John Schmidt Starter in car number 12 that takes P3 in the B category. So there is our race winner, Dennis Olsen, then. For Conrad Motorsport, he wins again in the Porsche Carrera Cup at Deutschland. And here, confirmation of the result. Then Dennis Olsen takes the win from Nick Yellerly, Thomas Preining, Christian Engelhardt, Larry ten Voorde. Then it was Christopher Zoetling, David Kolkman, Gabriella Piana, Ryan Cullen, and Henrik Skoog rounding out the top 10. There, the rest of the order: Luca Rettenbacher, Marius Nakan, Wolfgang Triller for the B with Stefan Rakoff and Jorn Schmidt Starter, all together there with Wolf Natan, Carlos Rivas, Kim, Andre Hauschild, Mikael Ammermuller we lost, and we also lost Philip Saga earlier on in the race. So cars are in Parc Ferme, and when you park that car up in front of the P1 board and you've raced really, really hard. Must be a great feeling.
Yeah, it's an incredible feeling. This time you arrive now, you cheer, you jump in the car, either on the roof, on the side, and you see your team and go now, you can hug them, they say good job, and it's an amazing feeling. It's really good.
Something we said yesterday is, of course, that for every driver, there's a team behind that driver, and you win and lose together as a team, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. That's like you said. You are together. You are one with them. They repair your car. They prepare your car. They are your engineers. They are your support out of the racetrack. Once you are with the helmet on and the doors is closed, it's everything on your own. But all of the rest, you are a team.
Dennis Olsen then, all smiles. After you've worn a crash helmet, your hair becomes very big, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Nick Yellerly then. Well, he's had a P1 and a P2 this weekend. A very, very good result, as we see. Once again, Dennis Olsen crossing the line and taking the checkered flag to take a great win. And on board the Conrad Motorsport pit wall, the delight very clear to see. And there, with the door open and the hand out of the car, and Franz Conrad enjoying the, I'm sure he is enjoying that, enjoying the celebrations. And Olsen then out of the car, having taken the win. Olsen, Yellerly, Preining, Engelhardt, Larry ten Voorde, Christopher Zoschling, David Kolkman, Gabriella Piana, Ryan Cullen, Henrik Skoog, and that the top 10. So in the A Championship, 161 points for Dennis Olsen. Then it's Nick Yellerly, who's P2 in the championship on 130, with Christopher Zoschling P3. Then it's Emma Muller, ten Voorde, Preining, Engelhardt, Piana, Kolkman, and Ryan Cullen, the top 10 in the A class of the Drivers' Championship. And a big crowd here. And Franz Conrad and Hans Bernd-Kamp. So it's Conrad Motorsport and Project One. Of course, they're going to be sharing the podium with Conrad Cars P1 and P3, and Project One with Nick Yellerly. Having taken the win yesterday, it's P2 today. Just wish we had a microphone there and we could listen in on the conversation, but we can't. All smiles between the team bosses then. Franz Conrad is one of the great characters, and himself a fine racing driver in his day. Thomas Preining then, as we take super slow-mos of the top three. It was P3 for Thomas Preining. Nick Yellerly then took the win yesterday. It was denied by one place today, but he will be P2 on the podium. And then taking the win, Dennis Olsen, adding to that fine tally of results that he has had, which sees him at the top of the championship. And here is Franz Conrad being encouraged to celebrate even more. So we await the podium, big crowd here, enjoying the race action that has come thus far from the Carrera Cup. And next they head off to the Nürburgring, then it's the Sachsenring and Hockenheim to round out the championship for 2017. And there we can see Burkhard Bechtel having a word with Nick Yellerly. which will be in English language. Not sure that Nick knows many words in German. I might be doing him a disservice there. Well done, Nick. Good weekend for him. It took him all of last season to really get to grips with this Carrera Cup car. And these are not an easy car to drive and drive quickly, are they?
No, I know from experience it's really hard. It's really hard to drive this car. Really technical. You have to be really spot on. You need to understand a lot how the weight transfer of this car is working. And as you said, it takes you a little bit to understand, to get the car. You need also really good setup of the car to be able to be fast.
Podium underway then. All drivers coming out together. So the anthem plays out for Dennis Olsen on the top step of the podium. Trophy presentation to Dennis Olsen, then the Porsche Junior. Nick Yellerly then will go away from the Norisring, having had a very successful weekend, a P1 and a P2. And Thomas Breining another Porsche Junior, and Franz Conrad congratulates. So they all get together for their photograph. To the front of the podium then. And then time for the bubbly to be uncorked. Nick Yellerly first then with the spraying. So Olsen, Yellerly, Breining the 1, 2, 3. And of course their teammates, and both in the Porsche Junior program together. And then the media focus, of course, with now Dennis Olsen with a very wet back, having been doused in the champagne. Franz Conrad down there in conversations and handshakes all round. Here come the highlights.
And here we are ready to see the podium of the B class, the amateur drivers, the category which is for all those drivers who enjoy. We see now all three coming together to the podium. So John Schmidt-Stade, third position for him. All really happy. National anthem. So, happy days for all our three amateurs drivers. We come now the trophies. First position goes this time to Wolfgang Thriller. Had a bad hard start of the race, but then he came back with a good rhythm and managed to get really good away. First position for him in this second race of Norisring. Stefan Reckhoff will get the second position trophy. Well done. Also happy days for him.
And for these drivers, this is everything, isn't it, this podium?
Yeah, exactly. It's an amazing moment for them. They are not used to be here. It's totally new for them. And John Schmidt-Stade getting the third position trophy. It's coming from Düsseldorf, so it's kind of my neighbor, I would say.
Okay.
So now the picture of all our three drivers, all on the top step. Yeah, they can't wait for the champagne. Oh, Stefan Reckhoff, it's impatient. Now you have the front picture.
Well done to them all.
Looking back, Stefan. Now they can get away with it.
That really is a big celebration, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like, as you said, this for this man, it's everything.
Of course. Even Dennis Olsen comes out to have a look. Oh, this is how we celebrate. Okay. Oh, brilliant stuff. So well done to all three then in the B category. Thanks so much from Alex and myself for watching the Carrera Cup Deutschland. Bye-bye for now.